But if you haven't done that before, then your first time out, make sure you got a nice big clamp and something to clamp your palette, your paint palette, because it's going to go all right. I think no matter what you do, you're going to waste some paint. Somebody, I forget who it was, some famous paint art teacher. So I've been quoting him for years. I can't remember who it was. They said, for you students, you cannot paint and save paint at the same time. So if your overwhelming concern is to preserve, save, conserve, save money, and save paint, you can't paint. Your overwhelming concern has to be to get a painting done. Saving paint is very, very, very secondary. Some people, and I've done this a little bit, when they're done a day of painting, they'll take a palette knife and scrape up all the paint that's left on their palette, put it in one big pile, mix it up, and put it in a tube. You know, you can buy empty tubes. I don't know if you know that or not. You can. You fill it up from the bottom up, and then with the cap that stays on it, right? You fill it up from the back end and crimp it, roll it up, and there you go. Voila, you have a tube of paint. There's a name for that color. That is the color. What color do you get when you mix all the leftover paint on your palette? What color you get? The answer is Torit Gray. T-O-R-I-T. Torit Gray. And that's a decent option. The problem is, if you're like me, once you have 5 or 6 tubes of Torit Gray in your paint collection, you kind of feel like you have enough. I don't need any more Torit Gray. Thank you, got plenty. You can use it. I mean, it's good. It's good, helpful stuff. Good for killing color. Anyway, so that's not perfect. The old-fashioned solution of basically a wooden palette, you know, in my opinion, that's the worst solution of all. It's a traditional one. It's the worst of all worlds. You can't scrape it like I did here because and I've tried, believe me. You can't scrape it because the razor will just dig into the wood. So if you're like me, after a number of years, you have half a dozen or more old wooden pallets leaning up against the wall everywhere. That's what I've got. Anyway, I need a drink of water. So I'm ready to go. Oh, hang on. While I've still got you pointed in that direction, I have some liquid around here somewhere. And yes, if you didn't catch it earlier, I have two, count them, 2 large umbrellas over me. One directly over me, leaning toward me a little bit, and another umbrella off to my left. Oh shoot! Well, I'll show both you guys who came here late. I did this a little while ago, but let me show you again. So notice the mats down there and the umbrellas up there, and the biggest hazard. And if you want to see a video, I have a YouTube video entitled "The Hazards of Plein Air Painting." The number one hazard of plein air painting is wind. It's not rain, although that's a hazard. It's not sun, but that's a hazard. It is rain. I mean, it is wind. So just a minute ago when I showed you my easel with a 36 by 24 by 36 inch canvas, which is a sail in itself, right? Plus 2, 40-inch umbrellas. All of that is quite the sailboat, right? Therefore, I have a box down there that has about 40 pounds of equipment in it. I have a bag hanging on the back that weighs about 25 pounds. And I have this that weighs about 20 pounds. So what's that make? 40, 50, 60, 70, about 80 pounds of ballast. Plus just the easel itself, another 20 pounds. So 100 pounds, more or less, I would guess, to hold this whole thing down. And on a real windy day, I carry a car battery with me in my van at all times, and that goes in or on that wooden box. If I need to look cool, it goes in the box. If it doesn't matter, it can just sit on top of the box. But that weighs 70 pounds all by itself. And that is sometimes, it also provides electricity, which I don't need today. But, not yet anyway. Woo, I'm gonna sit down just for a minute. I've been standing all this time. How you guys doing? There, you can look at the cityscape over my head. Nice clouds, eh? Nice clouds. I would like to take a picture of that, but I forgot my backup telephone. So, I mean, my backup phone with a camera. So I can't use the camera you guys are on because you're on it. Okay, nice swig of ice cold greens and water. And I think you saw me, I dumped a bunch of liquid on this pallet. I have Gamsol over here in a can. This bears mentioning, by the way. Here's a nifty part of my equipment that I've never pointed out. It's a tin bucket with a handle. I built this over, of course, and a conventional, Gamsol terpenoid can sitting in the bucket. So it's double that, and then in the rim around it, I can hold a number of tools that I'm going to be using throughout the oil painting. So the big bucket holds my water when I'm in the acrylic stage. Then I dump that out and put the terpenoid bucket. So it's a double bucket. Just a real simple trick that goodness knows, I don't know where I learned that. Oh, I made it up, but I don't know where I made it up. Okay, wait, before I get going, hang on here. I need to move because the sun is getting on my head. Can't paint that way, so I'm going to turn my easel, my 100-pound easel. Fortunately, it slides pretty easily. Let's see if that does the job. Nope, really doesn't. Need to turn it some more. And then I need to move all of my stuff. My music's a little quiet. Let's get this. I have one playlist on my iTunes, on my iPod. It's called Copyright Free. It's not really copyright free, but it's stuff that I have permission to play. I have paid for. So I can have a little bit of background music. I don't need music to paint with. Other than if I don't have music, I tend to get earworms. I get music in my tunes in my head that just drive me nuts. Okay, are we all ready to go? I think we are. Launching now into oils. Normally I start with warm. For some reason tonight, I'll start with blue, cool. Stay tuned, by the way. I do not at all expect, this sky is not going to stay all blue like this. This is just my first layer glaze. This might be one of the, no, it's too loud. Sorry. This might be one of those paintings. Yep, this is going to be one of those paintings where I do the entire canvas in one color and then come back and do other colors on top of it, and then of course come back and wipe stuff off with a rag. Okay, isn't that a fine blue painting? Just trying to clean that off a little bit. I often use the mats, the rugs that I'm standing on. To clean my brushes on. But you can really rub so vigorously. Okay, let's start making this interesting now. Solid blue is not very interesting. Yeah, I'm going to do my usual. More liquid already. Oxide red, very close to burnt sienna. Thank you, thank you. People going by on bikes. 4 of them. Okay, that's pretty nice. Brushes again. You know what? I will clean those later on. I don't need them anymore today, I don't think. So now. Wow. Gorgeous sky going on over there. So these brushes were dry. So in a way, I'm just erasing, lifting off. Instead of a rag, I'm using the dry brushes. Okay. what do I like about my technique? Must like something, because I've been doing it now for 14 years. 14 years ago, at the advice of a very successful and knowledgeable gallery owner, she said, yeah, you have talent, but they won't sell. I need something that pops. So I went home and clenched my teeth and said, oh, I'll give you pop. And I did my first, essentially, my first acrylic underneath oil painting. Right on the spot. Right on the spot. Well, good to see you. I'm good. Thank you. What, did you go that way first? Oh. Good to see you, Barb. Oh, that's sweet. Okay, now rag. Now a little ragging. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so I turned on a dime. I really did. I really did. Turned on a dime. Invented this. There was some lead up to it. I had discovered just a few years before that, I had discovered the magic of transparent acrylics. But I hadn't really done much with it. Hadn't really done anything with it until, again, this gallery owner. So thank you, sir. So I was a little bit, disappointed. I'm not sure put out is quite, I'm not sure I was, because I trusted her. Very successful gallery owner. Yeah, I was disappointed that she didn't say, oh, you're fabulous, bring your realistic fantasy storytelling art here, we'll sell the daylights out of it. She did not say that, and that was disappointing. She said, well, yeah, sure, you got talent, but I can't sell it. It's not going to sell. I need something that pops. That is basically a direct quote. So as I said, I went home that night with a little burr under my saddle. Pop, I'll give you. Not really. Tiny bit of that. 2%, not much. More like an intense drive to do what this lady said. I said, okay, she needs pop. She says, to sell, I need pop. Anyway, so I've been developing this, playing with this technique now for 14 years, which is not a terribly long time. Before that, I did everything else. Traditional oil painting, pen and ink, watercolor, airbrush, charcoal, pastel, you name it, right? Wash. Thanks. Bye-bye. Well, I was saying, why do I like this technique? Let me point out one of the reasons I like it. Are we still aimed at the painting? Good. It's so bright out here, I can't see my phone monitor very well. But okay, what I like about it is I just finished doing oil glazes, right? Blue over the whole thing, oxide red over much of it. Let me think now. Do I want to do spot color? Sometimes I do. My goodness. The view behind me just gets better and better and better, and here I am without a camera. That is bad. What I like is, can I zoom in here? Wait, hang on just a second, would you? Let me try to. Okay, we still hooked up? Okay. Yeah, I did my screen on hyper bright. Okay, I wanted to zoom in on this here. All of this. Intricate, subtle. See, one of the things I think I've learned late in my art career, sort of with a philosophical bent, is that our eyes Okay, here's the broadest principle. Our eyes enjoy seeing stuff. Okay, that sounds pretty radical, huh? Our eyes never get tired of seeing stuff. It might sound really simple, but it's going to have profound ramifications. Given the choice, our eyes would rather see more stuff, not less. Given the choice, our eyes would normally rather see more stuff, not less. The minimalists were not trying to create beautiful art. They were trying to create an art movement. They were trying to create a statement. They were not trying to create beauty. I'm trying to create beauty. They had given up on beauty. They were against beauty, frankly. They were not trying to create beautiful paintings. They were against beautiful paintings. So the minimalists actually proved my point. Our eyes love seeing stuff. Given the choice, they'd rather see more stuff than less. Okay, let me be, one corollary is our eyes enjoy subtlety. So in the midtones, not so much in the brightest areas or in the darkest areas, but in the midtones, most of the canvas is midtones. The subtleties, little tiny bits of pink and fuchsia and pale green. What's the name of that color? Oh my goodness, my brain does this a lot when I'm painting. Subtle colors, subtle. That's what so with the glazes I just did, like this is basically a white building right here, right? So it's got the perfect makeup for painting a white building, but it certainly is not white, quote unquote. It is an indescribable color. Okay, let's, I'm going to draw now. At this point, I normally either draw with pencils or with brushes. It goes back and forth. I go both ways. Today, it's very intuitive. Hard to answer why. Well, part of it, I guess, if there's a lot of pencils already showing, then I tend to go toward the brushes. While I paint, let me flesh out some of what I started a few minutes ago. Given the choice, our eyes would rather see, I like to put it this way, to just make it stark. Whoa, big wind, hang on. Our eyes would rather see yes stuff than no stuff. Given the choice, our eyes would normally rather see yes than no. I think that's pretty self-evident. Given the choice, our eyes would prefer to see a wide range of values, from blackest black to whitest white and everything in between. There's a reason. There is a reason we like Ansel Adams' photography, right? His darkroom hijinks, if I can use that word, his darkroom tricks were unsurpassed at the time. He schooled whole generations of photographers on the meaning of the word values. Blacks, whites, every shade of gray in between. Given the choice, our eyes would rather see yes, values, rather than no values. Given the choice, our eyes would rather see yes color than no color. Given the choice. Now, there's dramatic, of course. I'm contradicting the Ansel Adams thing. No, there's a dramatic place for black and white. Of course, when we say black and white, typically what we mean is every shade of gray. But in a colored painting, if you have to make a decision between, should I include a little tiny bit of fuchsia? The answer is yes, you should. Should I include a little speck of what? A little speck of lavender? The answer is, generally speaking, lavender or no lavender? Generally speaking, the answer is yes, lavender. Sky blue, red, brown, pink, you know, Roy G. Biv, all the way on the color wheel. Given the choice, generally speaking, our eyes would rather yes see than no see. But what our eyes do not enjoy seeing is disorganized chaos. For instance, back in the olden days, some of you, and I guess we could still see this, back in the olden days when everybody had analog TVs and rabbit ears, and you know what showed up on TV came through the airwaves, and it was picked up by the rabbit ears, and we'd all get up and play, you know, put tin foil on the rabbit ears and move them around and move them around. Well, when the signal was weak and the rabbit ears were not working well, what you got was visual chaos and oral chaos too, right? The TV just went. Right? Auditory, I don't mean oral, auditory chaos. Right? No, and we do not like that. We do not like, contrary to what the modern art world tries to tell you, no, we do not enjoy visual chaos. Remember, the modern artists are not trying to create beauty, they're trying to create statements. And it's okay to create statements, just don't confuse their world with mine or ours. Those of us who are busting our gut to create beauty, they do not want to create beauty. It's not like they're, you know, no. Sometimes you hear people say, well, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, so maybe these modern artists really are creating beauty and you're just stuck in old-fashioned. No. They are not trying to create beauty. They're trying to create statements. But don't confuse what they're doing. And nothing wrong with making statements if that's your goal. But again, don't confuse it with what I and we are doing, those of us in the beauty business. Without apology, I am trying to create beautiful paintings. And in my world, our eyes like to see stuff. So I mean, just to say one more thing that I repeated, a subtlety. Okay, I just ruined it. A subtle statement, and that is that given the choice, our eyes enjoy subtlety. And that I think is one of the hardest lessons for every painter to learn, is the lesson of subtlety. I'm learning it over and over and over again. Given the choice, our eyes would rather see subtlety than sledgehammer, if I may, okay? Now there's a place for visual sledgehammer. You know, psychedelic, wild, fluorescent, flashing, strobe light color. There's a place for that. Down at the club, right? At the disco. There's a place for sledgehammer visual effects. Movies. And I enjoy those, you know, rock 'em, sock 'em, smash 'em, guy movies, you know, nothing wrong with that. But, I mean, per se, there might be something wrong with it, but I'm not going to get into that. Our eyes enjoy subtlety, and in fact, the challenge for most of us as artists is to try to achieve anywhere near the degree of subtlety that our eyes are capable of discerning. Our eyes are so amazing. So amazing, it drives us visual artists crazy. Because in a sense, we're competing with our eyes. We're trying to satisfy our eyes, and our eyes are so stinking sensitive. It's just amazing. So my whole technique is layers and layers and layers and layers in order to achieve a degree of subtlety. Get it? So there's two ways to achieve subtlety. One is to get out your tiny little one-haired brush, stick out your tongue, and paint for 600 hours, right? That is one way to achieve subtlety, right? Another way to achieve subtlety is to paint in such a way that the hundreds of hairs or thousands of hairs on your brushes actually your brushes act like brushes. and the hairs on your brushes have a little bit of an independent spirit, a mind of their own, so to speak. See, that's how you paint trees. You don't paint trees like Bob Timberlake.
How you doing?
I'm doing good.
The landscape.
Yes, sir. I sure am. At least I hope I am. Yep. At least.
Is that oil based?
It is. It is. Now the underpainting, most of what I've been right now I'm using oil. Most of what is on here is actually acrylics.
Okay.
So I do acrylics first and then oil on top.
Okay.
So that's a very good question. You wouldn't be able to tell that by looking.
Okay.
So that's not a dumb question at all.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, no, exactly. There's no way you could tell if I didn't tell you. If I walked up and saw somebody doing this, I'd say, "You do acrylic underneath."
How long have you been working on this one?
Couple hours.
Oh, you did all this in a couple of hours?
Oh yeah,
wow.
Yeah. Probably have another hour and a half to go.
Okay.
Something like that. But the first hour and a half is a lot faster than the last hour and a half.
Okay.
The first hour and a half is, slap it down pretty quick and so on. But now I'm getting into the slow, careful stage now, little by little.
I like your setup here with the umbrella.
Yeah. Well, I can't survive without the umbrellas, man. Whee! I learned that a long time ago. So, are you on your way home?
Yes.
You been working?
No, I've actually been out doing a little bit of this, doing a little bit of that, a little bit of shopping, and
bless you.
A little bit of writing, a little bit of reading.
Good for you, man. Good for you. Yeah. Well,
enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you, man. Thanks for stopping and chatting.
Are you a professional artist?
I am. This is my job.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So this will be sold somewhere.
Yeah. This one, there's a gallery in Cameron Village.
Oh, okay.
She said, go out and do me some more of those cityscapes. So what she really meant was Skyline.
Okay.
So I said, okay. Now, I mean, it could sit in the gallery for 2 years and then never sell. So that's the rub. I make really good money if the paintings sell. I make nothing if the paintings don't sell. So that's kind of.
Do you have a gallery or a place that you just kind of freelance? Is that what it's called?
Nope, I'm represented in several galleries around the state, but they're not my galleries. I just consign them. Yep. If they don't sell, I don't get nothing. But I'm not complaining.
Yeah. Okay.
I get to do. I can complain. You want me here? Want to hear a good complaint? I got plenty to complain about. Not really. I've got nothing to complain about, really. It doesn't keep me from doing it sometimes. But yeah, no, I'm very blessed.
So it's the very last thing that you do is put your John Hancock.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yep. That's exactly right.
Not until you're content.
That's right.
That it's,
that's exactly. Exactly. Yep. So somewhere around 8 o'clock tonight, maybe.
It's nice talking to you.
Likewise.
William. What's your
Hi,
name?
William. I'm Dan.
Dan, nice to meet you. Thank you.
Bless
Have a good
you.
day.
Thank you. You too. Well, yeah, watch out. Sorry for my umbrella.
Hey, man.
What's up?
Hey, man.
I'm good, buddy. I just
Thank
came to
you.
look at your
Thank
picture.
you. Thank you. Glad you did. You've seen me do, by the way, that kind of thing, especially scratching several times throughout the painting process. And obviously, when I do that, I'm not aiming for accuracy. I'll do it again. There you go. But in the final edit, some of this will get covered up, and some of it will stay. Some of that scratching, and the ones that stay will just create this beautiful, subtle. There's that word again. Subtle little hint of that texture in the building. Subtle. That must be the word of the day. Subtle. Why do I paint this way? Because it's subtle. The final edit, what I call the final edit, I used to call it all the time, still do sometimes, I used to call it the light opaque highlights. That's what the last step is light opaque highlights. But now, a final edit is a better way to understand it. It is the most important step of the painting process. Just like any final edit, right? In writing or anything. It's always the final edit when you say, okay, there, it's done. So the final edit is the slowest stage of the painting process. And the most important. Maybe that needs to be. So hopefully when I'm done this stage right here, this phase, when I'm done, I will have all of my darks in place. And in fact, I need to always try to remember to pause before I move on and make sure that I have, absolutely, make sure that I have adequate darks. Oh, I'm sorry, absolutely, yes. Thank you. So I need to make sure when I finish here that, in fact, I have all the darks that need to be here are in place. So will this be a painting? Will there be number 10 blacks in this painting? Well, it doesn't look like it. And I believe that's appropriate for this subject matter because, in fact, nothing this far away, nothing could ever approach number 10 black. So I think if there was some detail right up close in this subject matter, then maybe that could have some number 10 blacks in it. But otherwise, I think I've got adequate darks in here. Generally speaking, for me, I want to push them just a little bit. Just push the darks and push the lights. That's the way I like to operate. Not everybody does. Not all good artists do that. Some are really into subtlety. There, I just hung myself with my word of the day, didn't I? I really enjoy this scratching thing. I'm doing quite a bit of it today. I always scratch. I mean, my painting I'm talking about. Hush. I'm talking about my painting. Any other kind of scratching will mean undiscussed during this video. I always do some scratching. Some paintings a little bit more than others. This seems to be one of those a little bit more kind of days. Yeah, let's get some dark in here. Okay, so let me just make something clear. Again, for those of you who may be following, imitating, pursuing my technique a little bit, let me be clear. The last two layers of my painting process are both lightening effects. They're both make the paintings lighter. So at the end of this stage right here, the canvas is darker than it wants to be. Does that make sense? It's darker than it needs to be, wants to be. It's a little bit on the dark side because the last two steps, one is the fuzz layer, which is still an optional layer. Still, I'm not sure how long I'm going to the fuzz layer is going to stick around, but so far I still tend to be doing it. But the fuzz layer, and definitely the last layer, because again, the last layer has two names. Light, God, did you hear that? Light. Opaque, highlight. So two of those three words suggest lightening, a lightening effect, a making stuff lighter effect. That is correct. So at this point, my canvas, my painting should be just a little too dark, and it is. Okay, I don't want it a little too light, because then I have nowhere to go in my last two layers. I want it a little too dark, and then I come back later and do light stuff. Okay. Okay. Woo, let's sit down. What time did I get here, guys? If you leave a comment, I can't see it. Sorry about that. I've been standing up since about 2 o'clock, I think. 3.5 hours, roughly. Better to paint standing up until your feet bother, your legs bother you so much, then better to paint sitting down. I'm not to that point yet, but I am enjoying a little respite, shall we say. We shall say respite. Whew. Now let's clean up my palette one more time. Now typically at this point, having now just drawn with dark, transparent, and that's a redundancy. If I tell you it's dark, I shouldn't need to tell you it's transparent. If it's dark, you know it's transparent. That we have a name for a dark opaque. It's called mud. If you want to know what I'm talking about, go to YouTube. You're already on YouTube. When you finish this, when I finish this, do a search for Dan Nelson mud. And you'll see what I mean. But having finished this, yes, typically my next step is pencils. And as I look at my canvas right now, do you remember all the pencil work I had? If you were watching me a while ago, I had tons of pencil lines. Now, I can only see a little bit of it here and there and here and there. Isn't that amazing? I can only see tiny hints of it. So that means, Yahoo, I get to do more pencil. And I say Yahoo for two reasons. One, it's fun. I like the way it looks. Plus, it's an aid in similitude, realism. And that's the end of my cold water. So I hope I can get the rest of the way through the evening. Don't have much choice, do I? Okay, where to start with the pencil? You know what? I've been starting at the top all afternoon, so I think for some reason let's just get, oh, I know what the reason is, because here it is. I'm like all human beings. I'm like all immature children, and we have immature children living in our house with us right now, so it's a great reminder. Like all immature children, I get tired of stuff. I get bored quickly, and those are train tracks. Train tracks. So when I start with a new medium, like pencils, for a few minutes I'm really excited, like, whee, this is fun, yay, this is fun, whee, this is fun. Are you with me? Did I say that enough times? Whee, this is fun. There, just in case you missed it. Irritating. More people hang up. Ugh, I can't stand this guy. I think of that old hit song, it's my party and I'll cry if I want to. Right? That's the way it is on YouTube, right? This is my station, I'll be stupid if I want to. Oh, bless your hearts. Bless my heart, really. Wow, you know, there's actually a whole bunch of stuff going on down here. These are cars. There's little cars. Can you guys see this? Okay, let me zoom back in on just the painting. I mean, these are cars down here, and I didn't even begin to paint them earlier. Now I'm thinking, wow, I need to come back and do some painting. There's all this mess down here. I mean, there's more visual chaos, way more visual chaos down here than I have even begun to remember. Oh my goodness, there's thousands of poles sticking up. It's like a forest of telephone power lines, poles, signposts, just all kinds of stuff. Okay, so that's what pencils are good for, right? Just, come on, give me some mess here. Give me some mess. Pencils are good for linear, scratchy mess. Again, that's the main reason I use them, because I like the scratchy. Now, once again, when I'm finished with this pencil phase, this pencil stage right here, my painting will be entirely too pencil-ish, in my opinion. It'll be way too much pencil. You with me? But not to worry, because I have two big stages, phases to go yet. The fuzz layer, which typically eliminates about 50% of the pencil, and then the final edit layer, which typically eliminates another 30% of the pencil. So, or to put this another way, one of the apologias, one of the explanations, defenses, using that old-fashioned word of the apology, one of the reasons for using a technique like mine is that I have broken down the decision-making process into several distinct layers. In fact, I counted earlier this afternoon, and I counted up, I believe, 14, this painting will have at least 14 distinct phases or layers. Does that make sense? That means 14 distinct decision-making processes, decision steps. And what I do is I isolate steps. Like right now, I don't need to think. Here's what I don't need to think right now. Gee, I wonder if I'm making too many pencil lines. Are you with me? Nope. That would slow me down. That would paralyze me. That would make me go, oh, I better be careful. I better slow down. And slow down is not a good impulse in my world, right? I mean, I paint better when I'm in a hurry. I don't paint better when I slow down. And most of y'all are the same way. That's the reason you're too tight, because you give yourself too much time to finish a painting. I hope to finish this painting in 4 hours. That's a realistic hope. And that's a fairly ambitious goal. 24 by 36 in 4 hours. Fairly ambitious goal. Now, it doesn't hold a candle to what I said earlier. The best painting I've ever done of this view, I did at a fundraiser, and it was 24 by 48 in, I think, 2 hours. It might have been 2.5, maybe even 3. I can't remember, but it was really fast. That's the part I remember. And it was my favorite painting of this I've ever done. I've done at least 6, maybe 10, as many as 10 of this view. Why am I doing it again? Because one of my main galleries said, get down there and do it again. They keep selling. So that's a good reason. I enjoy it, having a good time. What was I talking about? Okay, so I break down the decision-making process into several distinct and discrete steps or phases, stages. Is that right? So right now, I don't have to be worrying if I'm making too many pencil lines. No, just pencil away. You know, what's the old caution be damned kind of thing, you know? To throw caution to the wind. Oh, there's a torpedoes be damned. That's it, right? I know there's something like some old expression. It seems like a maritime war cry. Yeah, that's the attitude. Just no, man, paint, draw. This is not a time for thinking about other stuff. In fact, frankly, this isn't really this is not a time for thinking about big shapes, is it? I've looked. My big shapes are beautiful. Don't need to think about them anymore. All I need to think about is texture more than anything. Texture and little shapes. I'm so glad I don't have to sweat over about big shapes anymore. That's done. Done. We're all done with big shapes. Woohoo! Now it's just big stuff. Okay, there's many ways to do that, by the way. But that general principle of isolating steps, isolating various steps, very helpful, and I think is what's the word? Endemic is typical of anybody that paints in layer. That is, you know, the word layer. It's hard to say that several times in a row fast. Sounds like you're saying layer, like a trap, L-A-I-R. I'm laying a trap for you. It's called a layer. Layer. Anyway. See, isn't that fun? I don't know if you can see this or not, but my painting is oh so much more interesting now than it was just a few minutes ago. Yeah, you can. Turn right. And then park illegally behind the roof. Yeah.
Okay. That'll be for the train station.
No, right up the train station. Well, you got to go back that way. Turn left. Go that way. Turn left. Sorry. Yeah. Carruthers. Look for Carruthers. I just gave a poor lady terrible directions. She says, "How do I get down there?" I thought she meant down here. I told her, and then she meant the train station. Oh, never mind. No, I just told you the wrong thing. Whew. Poor lady, she's off on a wild goose chase. No help to me. I tried to correct my instructions. I don't know. She might have been too rattled by that point to trust me, and I don't blame her. Anyway, I was saying, so my painting, I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's much messier. It's much busier than it was just a few minutes ago. With all this, as my favorite description is scratchy. With all this scratchy pencil stuff. And it's a good kind of busyness. You know, it's not because the marks are loose and free and joyful and accomplished with aplomb. What's the word I've been using? The Italian court language. I've used it several times, and when I'm painting, I can't remember words. This happens a lot. It'll come back to me in a second. Anyway, all the lines have been rendered with speed, alacrity, joy, confidence, boldness, freedom, scribbly, fluid. That's a good word. Fluid. So they don't, even though it's very busy, it doesn't have the feeling of overworked. At least I hope not. No, it doesn't. Because it's fluid, not tight. You can tell. And of course, drawing with two hands really helps avoid that the bane of us all, that tight, right? Everything you see me doing is because I've learned how to compensate and cope for, fight against tightness. Okay, I think I'm done. Yeah, pencils done. Oh wait, I want to do a little bit down here again. A little bit of a railroad track down here. Okay, so I'm officially done. I may come back and use those again after one other layer. I'm officially done with the pencils. And again, I want you to look at that and say, I want you to put on a nice whiny voice. Are you ready? Say, this painting is entirely too pencilish. There's too much pencil in that painting. Ew, I don't like that painting. It's too much pencil. Okay, got it? Check. Agreed. Hang on to your hat. The next, I have 2 layers left. The next one is optional, but I believe I'm going to do it today. It's called the fuzz, what I call the fuzz layer. The fuzz layer is 4 descriptors. Okay, you with me? Translucent color. Now, for some reason, in America, man, people don't understand language, and they get transparent and translucent all mixed up. Forgive me, I know I'm being a snob because I'm good at language, so I don't understand that confusion. But anyway, transparent is like glass, translucent is like thin paper, rice paper. Okay, so the fuzz layer, translucent, soft edges, light, not dark, light, and local color, or accurate or realistic color. And the place to start the fuzz layer today is real obvious, because I think there's just basically one area that needs fuzz. I may invent something else, but it's just basically, it is just the sky. So I'm mixing up here. Can you see me? Mixing up here. Pale blue, and this white is dry, so it's skinned over, so I need to be careful not to, I can go under the skin and get the wet stuff, but I need to be careful not to get too much skin. And a little bit of, oh, that's too much. Does that ever happen to you? You try to get a little bit and too much. So I just picked up too much Naples yellow. But let me see, maybe now I'm going to pick up some more phthalo blue. So this is phthalo blue, titanium white. And remember, for me, my titanium white is always an alkyd, fast dry titanium. I think I got the tube right here. Yep. I'll show that to you. Alkyd, see that word? That means it dries faster. Now, that also means it evaporates or off gases faster. That means it's putting petroleum distillates or some kind of junk into your air. So you might want to be careful with it if you're cleaning indoors, which of course I do, especially if there's little kids around like I have. Okay, so but I use it because it dries fast, so that I can do. Now, okay, ready? Let's stop talking and paint some here. The fuzz layer, which is the scary layer for me, because I am messing up my painting. Oh Lord, help me! I'm messing up my painting. I don't even like how that looks very much, and I'm serious. I'm as serious as I could be. I don't even like how that looks very much. Well, so there I just picked up some red stuff. That's always exciting. Now I do seriously wonder if this fuzz layer is going to remain a permanent part of my repertoire, because it's really just the final edit with an emphasis on soft edges. So because the final edit can have soft edges and should, but for me, because I find that I tend to gravitate so much toward hard edges, that I have introduced for myself. I've introduced this intermediate step of making messes on purpose, soft edges on purpose, messes on purpose, to help me get away from an overabundance of hardness, hard edges. Okay, I've got a little bit more Naples yellow in this now, so this end of the sky over here is a little bit yellower, because it's a little bit closer to the sundown than over there is. Hello.
Hi.
Hey, big girl. Paint with 2 hands, sweet girl. That's the only lesson I'm going to give you. Don't let anybody stop you. Like I could really call this fuzz layer. I really could give it one more label, and that would simply be atmosphere. Just atmosphere. Plain old-fashioned atmosphere. Oh, and the other thing, the other element of local the fuzz layer is local color. Like here's a good example. Sometimes there's an object in your painting that just, when you got to this point, it's just not the right color. That's the case with this building right here. This building is decidedly phthalo blue, bluish green. So I'm gonna give it that color right now in a very messy way. Well, thank you.
You see, you made it blue.
Yep.
That's cool.
Thank you. Then, likewise, this building right here is a little too dark. Too dark and not green enough, so there we go. There we go. That's just about the right color now. Isn't that funny?
Yes.
So this is, right now, I've got one more layer to go. This is my 13th layer.
Ah, really?
This is number 13 out of 14.
Wow.
And this is the one, and I'm talking to my people on, YouTube. And this, I call this the fuzz layer. And it's scary as all get out because I'm messing it up. All that careful work, and then I come in here and just scribble all over the place, and it looks like I'm just ruining it. But experience has taught me that I'm not. But it still feels like I am. Do you live nearby? Did you walk? Do you live there?
We live up on Plein.
Oh yeah, okay.
Right here, Fletcher Park.
Oh yeah, yep. Yeah. It's a nice part of town. Inside the belt line, huh?
Yeah, it is nice. You know, this train is super slow today.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I don't know what time we come by.
It's come at 5:08.
Oh, you checked it out.
Yeah, so we got here like 10 minutes to 5.
And it's nice. Goodness, 4:46.
Yeah.
Is it really? Is it that late? Do they run that late?
Hey, the engineer, he just got in the train.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe the driver got in.
Driver got in.
Okay. So I thought maybe all I would do would be sky blue, but no, I did sky blue, and then I did blue on this building, green on this building, and then I thought, oh wait, I want to do some of that same stuff right here. So I've got a pale yellow. Oops, too pale. Let me add some yellow over to that. Again, because one of the fourth characteristic of the fuzz layer is local color. Yeah, there we go. So that building is much closer to its real color. And let's just do one more. And that is a reddish brown, or brownish red, I'd say. Brownish red, not reddish brown. Up here in this building. Yeah, that's good. And then finally, there's supposed to be some brown in this building. Now, I've said, whoa! I think that's the only time that's happened all afternoon. I jumped. Yeah, this is nice. So all these buildings, all these buildings now that are much closer to their final destination, color-wise. And look at that green. When I put that green on there originally, remember how electric it was and how overpowering it was? But now it's with all the stuff I've done on top of it and around it, it's just, there's a little bit that's bright and it's okay. It's just turned subtle on us. That's nice. That is so nice. My water bottle goes right now. Hey, you know what, you guys? I need to show you this scene. What has happened to this color while I've been out here? That's just about what I'm painting. Ha! Is that not gorgeous? Tell me that ain't gorgeous. My goodness. Look at those clouds. Wow. And I almost didn't come out today because they were calling for rain, 70% chance. And it's raining somewhere, of course, right over 50, 40 miles that way. It's raining. You know, I love it. It doesn't happen that often, but I love it when, most of the time when you go out plein air painting, you typically settle for, well, you know, the scene isn't that great, but because of my brilliant artistic eye, you know, I'm saying that's why we're supposed to talk to each other, right? But because of my brilliant artistic eye, I can turn this C+ scene into an A+ painting, right? That's the way it goes. Are you with me? That is reality. It's really fun, by the way. It's really fun when you're out plein air painting and the scenery turns into an A+ scenery. And then your job is simply to try to capture what you're looking at, and that's the way I feel today. Very much. Oh, really blessed. Really fortunate when that happens. And oh, the breeze just came up. Oh my goodness, that sky is just gorgeous. Okay, tell you what I'm going to do. I just can't let that go. I am going to stop this broadcast, which may mean that I'm going to start another one in a few minutes. Sorry about that. But I failed to pack up my backup camera, and so I need to use your camera to take a picture. I'll be back in a minute.
Beautiful.
Thank you. That's beautiful.
To draw that?
About 3 hours, I think.
3
so
hours?
Far. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but now I'm coming into the slow part right now. So.
Oh, the detail. Or?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the slow stuff. All the early stages. And I'm down to the last layer of 14, but all the 13 before now are pretty quick, kind of slapdash. But look at that. My goodness, when I got here it was all cloudy, and I thought about not painting today because the weatherman says it's going to be cloudy all day.
Yeah, it's been so in flux, right?
And
it's like every day.
Isn't it gorgeous though?
Yeah. Do you show your work anywhere?
I do, yeah. Let me see, I've got a card here somewhere. I do a Little Art Gallery in Cameron Village. Are you familiar with that? And then anyway, gallery in Cameron Village, and a gallery in North Raleigh called Bev's Fine Arts.
Okay.
There should be a link to both of those.
Awesome. That's beautiful.
Thank you. It'll be beautifuler in a couple hours. Okay, I don't know if you guys are still broadcasting or not. That is to say, I don't know if I'm still broadcasting. We'll find out in just a minute. I would like it if I am. All right, still streaming, Yahoo. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. We are down to the last layer, but oh, wait a minute. Wouldn't you know it? Yes, sirree. This is happening more and more lately. But I feel like I eliminate so much of the pencil in the fuzz layer that I want to come back and add some back in before I go to the next layer. Yep, I do indeed. There we go. Just a little bit here and there. Not too much. And of course I can come back and do more in the last layer if I want. In the final edit. Everything's fair in the final edit, but generally speaking, it's light but big highlights. I hope you can see by the way that I'm drawing that in the pencil stuff, the nature of the marks themselves is more important than the accuracy of the marks. Does that make sense? I'm sure it does. Okay, it's more important that the art marks be interesting than they be accurate. Now I want them accurate, but interesting is more important than accurate. And my music guy, Raleigh, going up. Let's see if we can start that. Brought a T-square with me today and ended up not using it. I hope my buildings are vertical. I'm not even gonna test. If they're not vertical now, I don't want to know it. I'm halfway kidding. They look vertical to me, so I'm gonna trust that my intuition is close enough. When your easel is not level, like you're on crooked ground, that's when a T-square can become really, really useful. Or likewise, to go if you're at the beach and you want the ocean, use a T-square, man. I usually use it, of course, for vertical marks because I'm painting tall buildings often. Here we are, last layer, Yahoo. Has not come too soon. Last layer, start in 4 places, 4 options. Most traditional is a landscape. Start with the furthest most object, which is a landscape is always the sky. Option number 1, start with the sky. Option number 2, start the focal point and go out like concentric circles. Option number 3, start with the lightest, brightest, whitest thing and then get dark from there. Option number 4 is start with any large object that is not the right color. Get that right and go from there. Okay, so what's it going to be today? This painting does not have a focal point. And that's okay, by the way. I think that's okay. This painting has a focal zone. It's right here now. Not so much right on the very edge, but this whole area. So yeah, I'm going to start right smack dab in the middle. I'm going to start in the middle. So basically I'm doing option number, whatever that was, 2. Start with the middle and work out. You know what? I need to clean up this palette. I just realized. Sorry about that. I just realized I have all this dry white stuff. So the white stuff dries faster, right? Because it's alkyd, right? So you leave it out. You leave it out for a couple days on your palette, and it'll be dry. A lot of the other paint is still good at that point, but the alkyd really does dry quicker. I've got a trash bag hanging on the back of my easel. Scrape just a little bit more. So I'm down to layer 14, phase stage 14, and drawing the subject matter. I counted earlier for the 10th time. Being willing to make adjustments, including this one. I make adjustments. This is the final edit layer. I can move things around a little bit. Not much, but a little bit. I can scrunch your building slightly to the left or the right, and so forth. Okay, and now I also need more titanium white. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Why do I put them in small piles instead of one big pile? So that if I contaminate one, say with blue, and then later I want to mix yellow with white, I don't have to contend with the contaminated blue stuff. Get it? Okay, so I'm going to start out by mixing titanium white and some yellow ochre, because I want to start with this one of these light buildings right here in the middle. And one of the things that I've said often, and I'm going to say it again right now, is the fuzz layer was a lot of scumbling, right? Scumbling is when you take relatively dry brushes and rub them across the canvas so that they leave just a minimal smattering of color, right? It creates a very particular color. No, I don't mean that. It creates a very particular texture. It's great for achieving the color and the value that you want. In fact, that's what, if you were watching a few minutes ago, that's exactly what I did. I scumbled phthalo blue on this building. Bingo, right color. I scumbled dull green on this building. Bingo, right color. I scumbled red and purple, right color, and so forth. So scumbling is a great way to achieve the color that you want. But howsomever, big but coming up here. Scumbling, generally speaking, leaves a texture that we do not, most of us, find particularly fetching. It leaves a texture that we don't like. Now, every rule could be broken, of course. No doubt there are some brilliant painters that leave all kinds of scumbling on their paintings, but I am here to tell you that is the exception, not the rule. The rule is scumbling is not a pleasant final texture. So that means you need to come back most of the time and paint on top of your scumbling using the color that you achieved as a guide, but paint on top of it with what I call real painting. Real painting is where you pick up paint with your brush, and think of your brush as a backhoe, not a brush. Think of it as a paint delivery machine. You pick it up. Whoops! I just dragged the handle of my brush in white paint. That'll be a mess. And you go up to the canvas, and the brush delivers the paint and moves away. You don't brushy, brushy, brushy. Brushy, brushy, brushy is what beginners, amateurs, wannabes, and not very good artists do. Sorry to be so blunt. Brushy, brushy, brushy is what people do who don't know what they're doing. When in doubt, they say brushy, brushy, brushy. Not a good way to paint. In fact, I love what Mark Carter, C-A-R-D-E-R, Carter in Texas, now in Texas. He's just look him up. He's very generous, puts a lot of great information on YouTube for free. And one of the tricks he plays on his students, which I love, he says, okay, I am here to teach you how to paint. Here's what we're going to do. Today, and he's doing portraits, he says, today you are going to do the worst portrait of your life. You see, that takes all the pressure off everybody. They go, oh, okay, cool, we can do that. I can do the worst portrait of my life. It's easy. Who can't do the worst portrait of their life? And then he instructs them, and he says, while you're painting this face, here's what you're going to do. You're going to put down one color after another, after another, after another. And at no point in the entire painting process are you going to blend any of these colors together. And it's going to be the worst portrait of your life. And so because they're expecting to do a terrible portrait, they go along with it. And so they put down a brush, and they apply the color, and they don't blend it in. Several hours later, they stand back and look at their painting, and what do you think? So far from producing the worst painting of their life, they have in fact just produced the best painting of their life. Why? Because they didn't brushy, brushy, brushy. Brilliant, 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 Mark. My hat's off to you. My beautiful sun has gone away. It's more comfortable out here for painting. But it's more difficult now because I am definitely making up stuff that I can't see. So, if you were with me a few minutes ago during the scary fuzz stage, fuzzy layer, I told you it was very scary, and it is still. But here's why it works. It looked at the time, it looked forever much like I was just completely ruining my painting, didn't it? But what I've discovered is that when I come back with the next phase, which is this one, which is the final edit, light opaque highlights, and I do sharp edges, all of a sudden, all that messy stuff looks really, really good. It doesn't look messy anymore because I'm doing neat on top of it, and the neat tidies up what was messy. Does that make sense? It's amazing. It still amazes me. I still have to brace myself and bite my tongue and force myself to do the fuzz layer, the messy layer, because it looks forever like I'm just ruining it. But look, I'm even saying it out loud so that next time when I do it, I won't be so nervous. One of these days, I'm going to finally start believing myself when I'm doing the fuzz layer, and I start believing that I'm not ruining it. Painting is starting to come alive, isn't it? I should say starting. It's been coming alive, but it's really come alive now with these light, opaque highlights. So my goal in this final stage, and here's where I need somebody to stand by and shoot me, is the goal is don't do too much. How much is too much? Everything you want to do is too much. Don't do it. Do not yield to that temptation. Do not do too much. Hold back, hold back, hold back, hold back. Okay, trying to mix up a pale green here. There's a building back here that has some greenish windows. Now, let me pigeonhole myself just a little bit for you. Again, I just mentioned Mark Carter a minute ago, and I mention him quite often because I really like his teaching, and he is so different from me. So different from me. He detests, that might be putting it too strongly, but he really does not like exaggerated color. He likes subtle, realistic color. Well, you could say my middle name on my in my cityscapes, my middle name is exaggerated color, and I like it. I am not likely to abandon what is evidently my, at least for the last 14 years, my native voice. To pursue what Mark Carter does. I'm not going to do it. I like my exaggerated color. Let me see. There was a reason I was telling you that. I forget what it is right now. Anyway, yes, everything I do, except in portraiture, I hope, except in portraiture, everything I do is exaggerated color. And again, I think that's because I contend that our eyes would, given the choice, our eyes would rather yes see than no see. Would they rather see color or no color? Yes color. How much? Lots. And I'm sure there's a really good opposite answer. C-A-R-D is in dog. Carter. So there you go. I have a lot of nerve to disagree with one of the greats. But I do indeed. I do like an exaggerated color. I think it, and of course, there's no question that my buying audience agrees with me. So I'm not about to abandon what all of my buyers for 15 years said, oh, we love your color. I'm not real close to quitting that, you know, just to try some crazy experiment. Not likely to happen. Nope. Thank you. Lots of friendly people giving lots of friendly encouragement today. It's always fun. Trying to get a duller greenish blue here going here. There we go. Now, if you don't stick around and watch what comes next, and I'll tell you what's coming next, because there's a very, very, very specific formula coming up in this final phase. The formula is that when you're painting opaque paint. Okay, so if you're a traditional oil painter, this applies to your entire painting process. As traditional 20th century, not traditional last 500 years. The traditional last 100 years. You're a traditional oil painter. You already paint. You don't paint like me at all. Everything you do is opaque almost. Slight exaggeration, but close enough. Anyway, when you're painting in opaque colors, you always, and I'm just going to say it that way, you always come back later in the process. You always come back and do a slightly lighter shade on top of what you just put down. There, that's the easiest way to put it. You always come back, you always follow up with a slightly lighter shade than what you just put down. So I'm not doing that right now, but later I'm going to come and do light of this, lighter of this, lighter of this, lighter of this, lighter of this, this. Every color that I've put down so far, I'm going to mix a slightly lighter shade and come back and do that. Got it? Why? Because it looks cool. In fact, I'm going to do it right now on this building. For some reason, I can't stand to leave this one right there. So I'm just added some white to the color that was already on my brushes. And of course, applying a texture that is vaguely indicative, vaguely suggesting panels of glass. Right? So this is a good example of what I'm not painting, sticking out my tongue and getting out a little two-haired brush and painting every single panel of glass. That would be a valid approach to painting. It's not the one that I think is the best approach. So that when the viewers then look at this part of my painting, let me zoom a little bit, their eye turns all these marks, a little bit of scratching, a little bit of everything. Their eye turns all this into individual discrete panes of glass. I'm going to do the same thing again, lighter again. So I just added a bigger pile of white to what was already on my brushes. You can also see that I'm not planning to do this lighter color over the whole face of this building, right? That's a real obvious, that's a real well-established principle in my book. Anytime you're painting a flat plane, like the side of a building, the same would apply to the side of a face or the side of a cardboard box. Do not paint it flat. Our eyes enjoy graduations, light to dark, dark to light, much more than they enjoy flats. Okay, I'm going to stop there. Now, since I got all this light stuff on my brushes, let me go ahead and do some of the same stuff over here. Let's add some green to that. tissue. Ugh. Getting a lot of distortion in my music. Hang on, let's see if I can fix this a minute. That was, whew, it's warm out here. Sun. Oh, big. Let me point at the sky. Big, big thunder. Classic cumulonimbus cloud. Look at that. Somebody's going to get a big storm tonight. Beautiful though. Okay, let me see. Mixing up a paler green. Same principle over here. Oops. Now it's always nice when you accidentally mix up exactly the same value color, because that means you matched it really well. You just need to add more white to it, and then it's lighter. Does that make sense? So it's always a nice accident when you accidentally get exactly the right color, exactly the light color. Starting to run out of gas, but I can do it. I can do it. Okay, let's start on a different tack now. Let's hit some of the lightest, whitest stuff. So some of these white buildings. Of course, I'm not going to paint them white. I'm mixing up titanium white with Naples yellow. One of my favorite yellows. It's like a pale yellow ochre. Twice as light as yellow ochre. That doesn't make sense. But anyway, it's very much the color that is on these buildings right now. I'm happy to say. I guessed very closely as to what the color of these buildings would be at the moment. They're exactly. Okay, now white, when you paint light stuff like this, especially really light stuff like this, it bears a little special treatment. Okay, let me show you a trick. This is it stands up to you, if you will. And I have here one of my favorite, Bob Ross's favorite, to a fan brush. I'm not going to use it to do a cute little pine tree. No. I'm going to go like this. So I just put down this very bright light yellow. Then I smeared it. Then I'm going to come back and hit it again with a slightly lighter white. And now, because of that smear, you can't see it very well here. It's very subtle. Has a subtle, the word of the day. Has a real nice glow to it. Well, let's do that again, because this building right here is also very white, and it's here. Let me point you just for a quick second to where is it? See that building? See the one in the middle? There's a couple. They're all looking white right now. Mine. Believe me, they're not all white, but this one right here is the whitest. There's a white panel right here. The part of this building is very white. Remember, you put the paint down and you leave it. You don't smushy, brushy. No. You just put it down, and our job here is done. Our job here is done. What do you do when your brush runs out of paint and all you're doing is leaving a speckled trail behind? Well, most of the time, the right answer is leave a speckled trail. Don't come back and try to fill it in most of the time, okay? You see what I'm talking about? It's not a nice thick line. Some of you, like, you're used to painting your house. This would be terrible painting your house. You don't want the walls of your house to be all speckled. But believe it or not, most of the time, you do want your oil paintings to be speckled. Okay, now this one, stop right there. There's a reason for that. Let's do the same thing. Stop right there. And this one, stop right there. Okay, now what's starting to show up on this building? Can you tell? Let me exaggerate it just a little bit. So this stops rather abruptly. Now what's happening? Can you tell? Yeah, it's actually a little too high. Let me bring it down. It's the shadow of a building, right? Here's the shadow. Okay, now fan brush again. You'll notice you can't do this kind of thing gently, softly, slowly. You must do it quickly. Trust me, you cannot pussyfoot around. You can't go up and very carefully, very carefully brush it. No. It will make an ugly mark. Trust me, it will make an ugly mark. So now I've mixed up a colored fact. In fact, yeah. This is a good place for a little palette knife action. The very lightest, brightest, whitest color you can put on a painting is warm white applied with a palette knife. Why? Because the palette knife doesn't create brush strokes. You with me? So it applies a smooth plate of color which reflects the light more intensely. So that might be the brightest spot on my entire painting. Might be the top of that building right there, and I'm okay with that. I'm very much okay. As I look over to my left, yep, in the skyline, that's probably the lightest, brightest, whitest thing in the whole scene. Now, while I've got this very light stuff on my brush, I'm going to go ahead and come back over to this building. See, I painted this entire building with one color. That's bad, folks. Now, it's not really bad because I knew I was going to come back and do this. But it would be bad to leave it. It would be bad to leave it that way. Why? Well, because it's redundant, boring, repetitious. It looks like I painted that entire building with the same color. Why? Because I did. It's exactly what I did. Does that make sense? And that's not a nice effect. It's not a nice feeling. It looks like a cheap way out. Okay, while we're at it, let's go ahead and do the same thing on some of these orange. These orange, sorry, trying to mix up the color I want. So, getting brighter, a little bit too bright. Has to be slightly lighter than what's already there. If it's 4 ticks, whatever a tick is, if it's 4 ticks brighter, that will not have the effect. It has to be slightly brighter. Our eyes enjoy subtlety. The word of the day. Our eyes enjoy subtlety. So I've just about hit all of these buildings. All the buildings that had one color only, I've now come back, except for the red one, right here. There. So I think they all have, they're all two-tone colors now, which is at least 2. 3, 4 is okay. It gets pretty hard to get beyond that, but at least there aren't any single colors, I don't think, is left. Let's continue then. These are mostly done, but I can come down here and over here. I'm getting up closer. So my basic strategy with this painting is with the last layer. I started at the center focal point and moved out like in concentric circles from the bullseye. So yeah, I think I'll continue with that. Let's do these 2 buildings. This building is almost the same color as this one, just a tiny bit darker. So but same formula, if you will, right? Formula is good as long as you don't get locked in, right? If you get too locked into a formula, that's no good. But generally speaking, a formula keeps you from being lost. Like, what do I do now? Okay, so the formula is I come in with one shade of color. And then I'll come back in a few minutes with a color slightly lighter, brighter, whiter than this. And yes, I'm still looking over my shoulder to the right to render these buildings fairly accurately. And obviously I don't care about every window by any means, not that kind of fastidiousness. But I think I can do some some palette knife painting on this building would be nice and appropriate. Yeah, it just creates a little bit of variety from the building around it. Just a little bit of variety. Okay, the essence of good painting, not a good painting, the essence of the verb, the act to paint. The essence of good painting is making interesting marks. And the essence of interestingness, if you'll let me make up words like that. The essence of good painting is making interesting marks. And the essence of interestingness, the most key salient issue, the key issue that creates interest is variety. Various strokes. Various kinds of strokes. So that's part of what you saw me doing there. Let's do a little bit more. This time with the narrow blade of the palette knife. Oof. Okay. The top part now, slightly lighter color. In fact, when it comes to color, what do we like to see in color? Variety. We do not like to see the same old over and over again. We like to see variety. When it comes to texture, what do we like to see? Everybody all together now? Right, variety. When it comes to values, lights and darks, what do we like to see? Variety. You guys are getting good. Yeah, that's looking good. When an artist says that, he or she is not bragging. It's like, wow, this might actually turn out. How about that? We've done it thousands of times before. We're still surprised every time a painting turns out good. I don't know if I talk for anyone else, if I speak for anyone else. We might have done 10,000 paintings, always surprised every time one turns out. And that's the truth. You know, not flabbergasted, but in fact, the better it turns out, the more astounded we are. Probably true too. And by the way, I'm not encouraging those of you who are full of negative doubt, self-talk. Oh, I'm no good. No, I'm not encouraging that kind of thinking or behavior by saying this. You're not supposed to be astounded when the painting turns out well. I'm assuming here a fairly high degree of emotional wholeness, which is not, woe is me, I am a worm. That is not emotional wholeness. That is a distortion. That is not humility. That's false humility. That's brokenness. It's shame. All kinds of crap that needs to be broken off yet. Okay, that's as far as I'm going down that rabbit hole. You're glad to know. So I'm just working my way along, aren't I? Just going slowly, trying not to put any more on the canvas than I absolutely need to. No more than I need to. By the way, I'm doing a lot of work today with the same two brushes. Generally speaking, that is not a good thing. You know, sometimes I've heard an immature artist say, and you know what? I painted the whole thing with only one brush. Okay, maybe there's a point in one's career where that's a good thing. But that's usually a sign of lack of imagination and discipline. I should be changing brushes. Why? Well, let me repeat it. Because the essence of good painting is making what? Interesting marks, right? Right. And the essence of interestingness is what? Variety. Okay, do you suppose if I used different brushes, I would be making slightly different marks? Whoa! Just schooled myself right there. Yep. But then, for every action, there's equal. For every rule, there's equal and opposite rule. The variety is right now is giving way to expediency. I'm tired. I gotta get out of here. I gotta finish this painting before I get out of here. So I'm just lazy though it be. I'm gonna keep on using the same two brushes and palette knife and so forth. Hey, my broadcast for some time now has said that 0 people are watching. I'm beginning to wonder now if I'm really broadcasting. And if I'm not, then nobody heard me say that right then. Hello.
Just want to look over your
Please,
shoulder.
please do. I'm sorry, I'm faced the wrong way, but I'm
Okay.
hiding from the sun. Yeah, I don't
You
mind.
got lucky with the rain today.
Yeah, I sure did. I know it, and I thought about not coming down because it's supposed to be cloudy all day. Man, it's been gorgeous. Glad I came down.
Is that, how many days work is that?
Oh, I started about 2 o'clock.
And that all in?
Yeah. On a bare naked canvas. You betcha.
Cityscapes, landscapes.
I do. Yep. And some portraits and all kinds of things. But cityscapes really are my bread and butter, my forte.
Yeah. What was the toughest thing about this Skyline? Nothing?
Getting sore feet. Getting hungry. Getting ready to go home.
Will you be done by the time you leave?
Yeah, I hope so. I probably got another, maybe I could do it in 45 minutes, maybe an hour. Yeah.
No, you're recording.
I am. Well, I think I'm broadcasting, although I did the break. I took a picture a little while ago, and then I just noticed, it says I've got 0 viewers. Makes me, I'm not sure I'm broadcasting anything.
Yeah.
But my camera's on, so I'm not sure.
That was one of my favorite shows growing up.
Yeah, Bob Ross.
The guy that would narrate while he painted.
Bob Ross.
He had the big afro.
Yep.
And,
Yep.
The guy was very mesmerizing.
That's right. That's exactly. He sure was. Yeah, I enjoyed him too.
That's really beautiful work.
Thank you. About what?
Well, you texted me, and you said you'd let me know later, and then no, it's already almost 7 o'clock, and I don't know whether to wait for you on dinner for you. So I texted you a long time ago about that. Like, let me know. Are you going to be there till dark?
No, hang on. Now, you have to understand, a whole bunch of cars are going by, on and off and on. So a lot of that I didn't catch, but hang on just a second. Let me make sure I'm not still broadcasting.
Were you just talking to me?